Between 2009 and 2010, at the height of the Afghanistan war, UK casualties from enemy action were beginning to peak. To counter the rise in lost lives, a highly specialised mobile medical unit had, since 2006, been administering immediate aid at the point of injury, often under enemy fire. Known as MERT, this medical emergency response team operated from a Chinook helicopter, converted to serve as an airborne hospital, providing rapid response to reported casualties. Bringing medical expertise into the field, saving lives on the front line, and bringing hope to those in need. The officer commanding MERT was Squadron Leader Sean Pascoe.
After I finished in the Royal Air Force, I did it after probably about my second tour. I was kind of feeling the pinch a little bit. It was difficult readjusting when I came home. So I took some resettlement activity and did my Yacht Master program. So back-to-back sailing, 2,500 miles and various courses, and then got my cruising instructor. And I started to sail people that were coming home from tours, veterans, and in small groups to start with, 3 or 4 at a time. There was something quite profound about what was happening to these individuals, the impact on them. So I just continued to do more and more. We set up Turn to Starboard as a charity a few years ago. We refused money in the first year or so. We just wanted to see that we were doing the right thing. And then we took that impact to some of the major military charities. They expected them to come forward with a little bit of support, maybe a few thousand here and there to charter a boat. They came forward on quite a significant scale. So Help for Heroes, the Royal Air Force Association, Royal Naval Royal Marines, Army Benevolent Fund, and now the Royal British Legion, all supporting us, which was really quite exciting. We then, the word got around, and we went from a point where I thought we'd sail 20 a year in my leave as a nice thing to do. We now sail this year 363 people. We got 32 on the Yacht Master program, and it's just going from strength to strength. The Princess Trust were in touch with us, and effectively they gifted us a large vessel, a 92-foot pilot schooner. She's gaff rigged, traditional, takes a bit of effort to get her go forward. You've got to work as a team and get 18 on board that. And we wanted to do something special with her to kind of introduce her to what we were doing. We decided that we were going to kind of take her around Britain as a challenge for these individuals. We kind of approached certain organisations, and International Paints and the Endeavour Fund helped support that. We thought we'd probably do about take 12 sailing around Britain, and when we put it out there we got 38. So we decided to make sure everybody can go.
A crew from around the British Isles and all walks of life, but all sharing one thing. With a 2,000-mile journey ahead of them, the Spirit of Falmouth was complemented by a small camera crew, static on-deck cameras, and a diary room to record the personal journey of every crew member. Under Sean's watchful eye, the crew must work as one, learn new skills, and sail the 92-foot Spirit in challenging conditions. With little sympathy for injury or sickness, every crew member has a job to do and a goal to achieve.
Hi, I'm Dan Fielding. I'm the first mate on board here. I started off as a beneficiary after spending some time out of the Royal Marines, and sort of isolating myself and a bit disassociated from the world, really. So yeah, I found these and started doing my Yacht Masters with them, went through the programme. Unfortunately, I passed and ended up with a job working for Turn to Starboard. It's been a great experience, been a bit of a roller coaster experience for me for the last year. From 20 minutes to getting out of the car to then walking in the office, and then from there it just really took off, And yeah, here I am helping other people doing it, and it's great to see on their face how I felt on the way through. So it's real rewarding work. And then, like we're here on the Round Britain, being first mate on it, it's massive responsibility, which is really good. It's nice to have that responsibility again and have the confidence actually to be responsible for a lot of other people.
Also joining Spirit for the first part of the journey is Al, an ex-household cavalier.
I came to Turn to Starboard about 3 months ago. I fell from my horse and tore my hippocampus and my brain, and fractured C4 in my neck, which left me with severe cognitive and mobility problems.
And Chris, who is working toward his day skipper's qualification.
Company Sergeant Major, 26 years in the Army. Left the Army in 2013, medically discharged. Spent a lot of time in hospital, having several operations and getting myself back to normal. My normal is probably different to your normal. My head injury affects me, mainly on the memory side. I got knocked on the left-hand side of the head, which affects the right-hand side of my body. Sometimes my body doesn't work in conjunction with the left-hand side, so I tend to walk at an oblique angle, and my right side is a lot weaker than my left side.
For these beneficiaries and many others, Turn to Starboard offers a place to rediscover who they used to be, to reconnect with a life they thought lost. Leaving Falmouth and heading east, anti-clockwise around Britain, the intrepid crews of Spirit, Quivira and September are scheduled to visit the historic ports of Newcastle and Liverpool, as well as havens in the quieter reaches of the British Isles. Only made possible by the support of the Endeavour Fund and International Paints, the journey will take 2 months and will test them and bond them, train them and expand their horizons, ultimately opening opportunities they might otherwise have chosen not to explore. At least, that was the plan. Until the first leg of the journey threw up more problems than at first envisaged.
It's been a bit of a long haul from when we set off on the first and got 6 miles out and let it come back. A little bit disheartening really. I'm quite upbeat with stuff, and you know, we say it's a Round Britain challenge, so it's definitely started to challenge us straight away. We came back, stuck the engine down, we did a few bits and got that all sorted, which was good. Learned absolutely loads. I've never stuck an engine down or done anything really like that before, and I know Spirit fairly well, but now I know her very intimately. And you know, I got to spend a lot of time with Tamsin and a lot of spanners down in the engine room.
Careful preparation had allowed time in the schedule for weather and repairs, and given a clear run from the restart in Falmouth, Spirit could still make her rendezvous in Newcastle. However, Spirit's clear run did not go smoothly.
So then we were all happy that we were setting off, and yeah, we set off again, started really going on that journey after being like 9 days late, and got just off the Isle of Wight, and we had another problem.
With the Round Britain challenge in jeopardy, and Quivira and September now far ahead, Spirit was alone alongside Yarmouth and suffering worrying gearbox problems. Operations manager turned resident mechanic, Tamsin.
We had problems with the gearbox as we were off pool, so the Yarmouth lifeboat towed us into Yarmouth. We had to take our whole gearbox out, a bearing had gone, and then we had to search for ages to find a refurbished gearbox. So we've got a new one, or a refurbished gearbox. It came from Norway, so we had some really frustrating days just waiting for it to arrive. Really exciting when it came. Everyone opened it like it was Christmas. And then we worked all last night till about 3 o'clock in the morning fitting the gearbox. So the crew were amazing helping us out with that, and we've fitted it now, tested it, and we're going to cross all our fingers to get on the way again up to Newcastle.
Spirit was suddenly in a race against time. The destination? Newcastle, home of several of the crew members. The deadline? A welcoming party planned months in advance, hosted by Round Britain Challenge major sponsor, International Paints.
Okay, so we've just left Yarmouth, and everybody's really keen, really excited that we've left and happy that we've got going, but just been speaking to International Paints and we're unsure whether we're going to be able to make the engagements that we've arranged with them. Huge shame, because we're really excited about it. They've been brilliant to us, and I really want to give them the river chips and corporate events that we've promised. So hopefully we can make it. We've got over 400 miles to go in just a few days, so everyone's going to really crack on, and we'll just hope for lots of wind and get there as fast as we can.
With little wind, a rebuilt engine and a replacement gearbox untested at sea, the crew had to face the prospect of failure on a very public stage. But with the new gearbox holding and benign conditions, the Spirit of Falmouth passed through the English Channel and made north for Newcastle. The change of fortunes gave a chance for some of the crew to reflect on their time aboard.
It's been funny because you do get up and down. You know, your sleep patterns messed around with. You really want to contribute and you want to help, and sometimes you just don't have enough technical ability or stuff. you know, various people are talking to you and trying to do stuff. So I think that's been a challenge for a few of us who really want to kind of get in there. It's been cathartic though. You forget a lot about your just the daily woes or just the little bits and pieces, you know, and that's nice. The sea's very calming.
What I get out of it, immense freedom, independence, meeting up with the lads again. And basically it's a case of it's the squaddy black sense of humour. You laugh in the face of adversity and basically just get a job done and having a laugh at the same time. Meeting like-minded people. We're all in it, all in the same boat, pardon the pun, like, you know.
Finally, after weeks of setbacks and unexpected upheavals, Newcastle.
It's certainly been a challenge. We set off on time, but we had a significant engine problem, and then we even got rescued by a lifeboat at one point. But and then stuck in Yarmouth for a little while. Major engine problem, so the yachts went forward, and then we were delayed by about a week or so. And then what we had to do was quite a significant passage from Yarmouth to Newcastle to do catch up, and that in itself was quite a challenge. The waiting, the kind of getting the kit right, and the kind of anticipation of where we would like to be and we're not, was quite frustrating. But we got here. We're in Newcastle, arrived, and a beautiful city, and looking forward to the next leg.
Sadly for the crew, the delays had cost the schedule dearly. There was to be no official welcoming party, although that didn't stop the celebrations from happening. And it allowed a little time to acquaint some of the staff of International Paints to life on board Spirit. Before long, it was time to set sail once more for the passage round John O'Groats, through the treacherous Pentland Firth, boasting some of the fastest tides in the world. A brief sojourn in Wick prepared the crew for a rough passage.
We've got probably one of the most challenging things to go through in British tidal waters, probably even in the world. Just as we go around north of here and go up towards the Orkneys, there's a tidal flow which can get up to 17 knots. We've spoken to some of the local people, and they've said that if it's a westerly wind and if it's over a gale force 4, then we just can't go. So we're sitting there, we're ready, we're kind of poised to go around the corner, and hopefully the weather will then give us a chance to go, and then we can go across this slack water, and then we go to the Orkneys, so which we're all looking forward to.
With everything lashed down and the route thoroughly briefed, Spirit set off, braced for the most difficult section of the challenge.
The floor of all the Atlantic, if you can see up there, there's a little gap. That's where all the Atlantic comes in or goes back out, so it can be a bit choppy here. So you have to time it right. We actually wanted to get here at 4 minutes past 9, and we got here at 4 minutes past 9, didn't we? So we got here perfect on time, made good way up, good progress. We should be in the Orkneys in about an hour, hopefully all being well.
But fate was smiling on her, and Spirit conquered the Pentland Firth in style, arriving in the Orkneys to blue skies.
So, hi again, how are you doing? Where are we now? We're in Orkney. It's been a great sail over from Orkney and round Orkney. It's one of the most beautiful spots I've seen. Absolutely dreamy coastline. Stopped for an anchorage on the first day as we came in, stopped for lunch, which was nice to do that small little hop like I said before. And you know, the other boats came alongside to, you know, have a little chat, and we pulled out a big bucket of water bombs, which was brilliant. And then we had a little water bomb fight with the other boat.
Quivera were launching water bombs at us, and we were launching water bombs at them, and it should realistically go down in the annals of history as an epic battle due to the fact that 25 fully trained veterans couldn't manage to land a single water bomb on target. You know, what can you say about that? Not very much. We even had a colonel of artillery on board, you know. Really, really not good drills.
We were just out of reach of them and they were just out of reach of us. Although Quivera did send over a tangerine, which was quite nice of them, that went straight over. I was speaking to Mike and he said he was pretty good because he forgot he had the tomatoes, and yeah, and I think, you know, I thought, you know what, tomatoes, we've got a couple of tins of them, we could have sent them over to the Quivera, which was quite nice. So yeah, it was quite good just to really chill out, the lads having a laugh, us having a laugh. It was just really, really needed, really needed.
Anchorage in the Orkneys Hunter Sound gave an opportunity for some of the crew to venture ashore and visit something unique to the islands,
We've now come to the Italian chapel, and the locals said to us that it's worth coming to see despite what your religious beliefs are, because this was built by the Italian prisoners of war that were captured. Most of them were captured in North Africa in early 1940. I think this was Camp 60, and this is the only Nissen hut that's left, and an Italian prisoner of war were given this as their to make a chapel of worship. They built a lot of it inside from baked bean tins and tinned beef tins and whatever, and made it look like lead. And that's the interesting thing about it. So we've just come here really to see what prisoners of war can do, even on the Orkneys.
Finally underway once more, Spirit headed to Liverpool via Stornoway, directly into the path of a Force 9 thunderstorm. And although the main mast was struck by lightning, this time nothing would stop the crew on their journey. Spirit, a replica of a Mersey schooner, was, in a manner of speaking, headed home to be welcomed by local dignitaries, press, and most importantly, much-missed family members. A brief trip to the Merseyside Maritime Museum provided some interesting background to Spirit's heritage.
There's a lot of information about and dispelling some of the myths we had about the boat, that actually her importance and her role once upon a time to bring ships safely into the Mersey, and that is important in itself. We had our own pilot, one of the actual working pilots offered to come on board and brought us into Canning Dock, which is a real challenge. 9-metre tide and a lock that you only get 20 minutes opportunity in a whole tide to get into, and he ferry glided this ship with ease, so really quite impressive.
But all eyes were beginning to look ahead to the penultimate leg, a passage across the notoriously rough Irish Sea to the Scilly Isles, within striking distance of Falmouth, a challenge for any crew.
Looking forward to that challenge and adventure. Sun is shining now, and we're going to get some favourable weather, I think. So we're approaching summer, as it were. So looking forward to that. But and the Scillies is the next on the agenda. We're going to take a big passage there and do some sailing on the Isles of Scilly before our journey home.
240 miles in a Sea State 5 under full sail. Everything Sean had hoped and planned for the boat, crew and beneficiaries had come together.
Big push to the Scilly, so we did a 250-mile passage where everybody kind of really worked hard and stagged on. The Irish Sea can be a bit of a beast, and it was big swell, but we pushed out west almost towards Ireland because we knew the next day it was going to be southwesterly, so that we could take favourable tides, and we sailed the whole way from Ireland to Scilly's on a one big journey, which was amazing, and everybody was really buzzing when they arrived in Tresco on the Isles of Scilly.
Had a bit of a beast of a journey on the way down. We decided, because everyone loves the Scilly, Scilly's paradise, we thought we'd do a beast leg and do, near as damn it, 3 days, 2 nights, to head all the way down to Scilly from Liverpool. We did have a little stop off for an evening, but by and large it was just going the whole way, and it was pretty stormy conditions. We didn't sleep 3 days, felt a bit green from time to time.
The boat was listing at an angle, and for an amputee not being able to walk in a straight line was very frustrating. Nothing, you put a spoon down, it was sliding off. We were actually feeling negative G in the bunk, lifting up in the air and trying to stop yourself rolling out. That was very frustrating, and it tested my tolerance to the limit. But we got through it, and it settled down, and I said right at the beginning, want to experience calm, moderate and rough conditions.
It's been awesome, amazing, all the words you can think of.
made you choose that?
I chose that area for ease for getting out in the morning.
With Chris preparing to helm for the last time, Spirit was rejoined by Quivira and September for the final leg.
Today we're going to do the planning process prior to departure. There's a number of aids which I use. I use the addition of the maps, the charts, of which we're using 5603, which just gives us a direct route from the Scillies to Falmouth. Secondly, we've got the electronic navigation as a backup, but our first navigation is always the charts, and that is always the backup. We're currently here. We're going to make our way to Falmouth on the other side of here.
Home, to their friends, their families, and their futures.
The way they operated as a team at that stage was just kicking into their watches, and kind of decision makers and managing that. It was very much like they once were probably in the military. Their ability to make decisions, to lead, to work together to get the job done was really very satisfying, and really quite a revelation for most of them. And there's that kind of not only euphoria of that happening, but also the kind of the anxiety that you want to go around all again, because it was really quite special.
It's been brilliant, mate. Yeah, it really has. Confidence is a big thing. I've lost 7 inches and about 2 stone in weight. My clothes are sort of hanging on me. Hey, my diabetes has improved for a start, my eyesight and the way I'm healing and stuff. And yeah, I just feel really good about myself.
My confidence is come on bounds, and I think I suffer from depression, and I think that's lifted quite a lot as well, because just being around people who've all, the same-minded people sort of thing, so it's really good. Yeah, loved it.
Yeah, lots of ups, lots of downs, lots of laughs, lots and lots of laughs actually. So a great experience, best thing I've ever done really, it really is, truly.
I found the physical side of it hard at times. I found the challenge of not knowing what I'm doing at times really hard. Having spent 39 years in the army, to get onto something that you know nothing about, and then suddenly, having to do stuff and rely on everybody else in the teamwork, and the physical challenges of hauling ropes and the storms and the seasickness and all that sort of stuff. So, but they were challenges to overcome, and absolutely fantastic. And you couldn't have done it without everyone in the boat pulling together, and that's what really made the trip. That everybody with their backgrounds, nothing really mattered. Everybody with a single purpose to sail this boat around Britain.
With their trip completed, each member of the crew turns to their own future, looking ahead to the next challenge, whatever that may be.
We had quite a few successes. The impact for each of them was really quite profound, and I think different for all of them that took part. But particularly individuals like Chris. Chris experienced an explosion, actually had a head injury on operations, has some cognitive issues. He basically stepped up, and his progression throughout was really quite amazing. Coming from somebody, a complete sort of novice to what we were doing, to someone that we kind of depend on, and became one of the mates and one of the watch leaders on board. Al was quite special. He was one of those gentlemen that actually, when his relatives came to see me, that they described him as quite insular, as kind of that actually when they saw him on the boat, by the time he was 3/4 of the way around, he was full of life, full of fun, and he was really just a huge presence on the boat. He was constantly in that kind of routine and back to normal, and lost something like 3 stone, which he was really pleased with. But his whole sort of presence as an individual, he was funny and witty, and kind of kept us going. He kind of coined the phrase of he puts the Al in morale. He was great. And then Dan came to me a couple of years ago, actually about a year and a half ago, and he was having some really struggling with some issues and kind of getting back into life. He kind of described himself as when he was in the Marines, he was at the top of his game, and then to be kind of out of the Marines suddenly, he'd lost pretty much everything. And he came to join us. He sailed and sailed and absolutely loved it. Started to get engaged with life again, to the point now where he's really unrecognisable. He's at the top of his game again. For him, he's now one of my core instructors. He was my second mate all the way around. I completely depend on him. He's incredibly, I trust him. And that growth is quite impressive and lovely to see. We employ Dan now. He's one of my instructors, and he just sends that message on to the next guy, and so it goes on. It's a lovely thing. I've always been a small cog in a very big wheel. So and that I think I've taken forward with Turn to Starboard. That ability to manage quite a small team and make a big difference is something that I've kind of done in my career, and that works equally true for Turn to Starboard. The Mert was a challenge. It was an incredible thing. It had a huge impact, and that the power of that I kind of probably taken with me in Turn to Starboard, and making a difference is probably what I thrive on. And it was challenging, the job itself, that whole kind of thing, and watching what's happened to some of those individuals, and indeed to myself. It kind of spurs me on to make sure that those people are looked after. And if we can do that in some way with sailing, and then perhaps support them in other ways. We don't do therapy on our boats. We don't make people better, but what we do is give them something to look forward to, help them to be back on their game, and to kind of get that challenge each day, and kind of strive for getting back to what they were. Hi, thank you very much for watching our video. My name's Sean. I set up and run Turn to Starboard. I hope you enjoyed the film. We're going to be doing the Round Britain again this year with Spirit, so watch out for us. You can follow that on the website or on our Facebook page. I wanted to take a moment, if I could, just to explain what Turn to Starboard is about and what we do. The main purpose is a Yachtmaster program. So we take guys and girls that have been affected by military ops or service life, either physical injury or mental health problems, and take them through the whole program of a Yachtmaster offshore, and often cruising instructor, and commercially endorse them. That's proving quite successful, and we're having some amazing impact and stories from that. Demand is exceeding supply at the moment. Families, we take them away in the summer, and we take trips, mum or dad who's been deployed, and we take the whole family out for a sail, which is quite a special piece. And then the day skipper and comp crew course, which is really taking it back to our original intent of 4 or 5 people on a boat, and getting that value that we all understand about going for a sail. And Spirit is a bit more of a high-end adventure. That gaff rig schooner, it takes a bit more effort to get her to go forward, and the guys and girls working together as a team. I just wanted to take a minute, if I can, to explain that actually the demand is exceeding supply, and we wondered whether you could help. Currently there are 1,100 or so sailing or yacht clubs in the UK. If a small proportion of those clubs were able to help us, we can do some special things. So what we're proposing is that you pick a champion from somebody. You can probably point to that individual right now, all of you, that would champion Turn to Starboard in your club. If 100 of those clubs raise £50 each, we can sell another Yachtmaster. And that's the challenge for you. So if you can do something special for us this year, that'd be great. We will fly your pennant round Britain for you from your yacht club, and make sure that your profile is up there with ours, and by way of thank you. Again, thank you very much for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed that. Do keep an eye on us. It's www.turntostarboard.co.uk.